She's got long legs and short shorts, but she ain't got no teeth. She wears a red bandana on her head and she smiles so sweet. She'll steal your heart, a very first sight should rip apart your soul. She'll torture your mind and waste your time and drag you down the road, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel, 'cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel.
Hey friends, you're listening to the St. Andrews Jezebel Podcast, episode 20. My name is Ashley Feller. I'm a third-generation Panama City native, musician, and singer-songwriter. This week, I'll be sharing live music events for the upcoming weekend of March 19th through 21st, as well as art and community events. I'm also happy to feature a recorded interview with Jennifer Vigil of Destination Panama City that was recorded at Floriopolis last Wednesday. It was a real treat to sit down with Jennifer to talk about Destination Panama City and its new visitor center that is currently under construction. Following the interview, I'll read a short poem called Sunset that was written by Lois Carlos and was featured in the St. Andrews Bay News March 20th in 1934. Get your favorite drink ready and enjoy the show. These are the music events for the upcoming weekend of March 19th through 21st. Starting this Friday, get your drink on and enjoy jazz at the Shrimp Boat with Class Act. And across the way at Los Angejitos, you can drink margaritas and enjoy great original songs and modern country by Will Thompson. Or you could stroll down Beck Avenue to Little Village for music by Scott CHAPMAN, beginning at 6 p.m. SAXY takes the stage at Alice's on Bayview starting at 6 p.m. as well, and the Most Wanted Gang is delighted to be playing for you at the House of Bourbon starting at 7. Alternatively, you could go over to Uncle Ernie's for music by the one and only John Cannon, who plays a great variety of music written by some of the best songwriters in history. Closing out your evening at 9 p.m. is Dominique and Ryan in the courtyard at the Salty Hobo. And I should add that the tap room and the library on Beck usually have music every Friday night, but I wasn't able to find any specific information online, so if you're really curious, check their social media further into the weekend. The market at St. Andrews is every Saturday morning and opens in the lot next to the Shrimp Boat. There are a number of fantastic arts and crafts vendors, food trucks, and live music brought to you by Floriopolis that begins at 10 a.m. This week, I'm the lucky one who gets to sing for you at the market, and I'm sure I'll play some Irish tunes for y'all, and maybe my father, Dan Feller, will join me. We aren't just quite ready to let go of St. Patrick's Day yet. By the way, the market is always looking for different musicians, so if you're interested in performing, please send me an email to ashley.feller@gmail.com, or you could always private message the podcast. The Floriopolis Music and Art Tent is usually located by the food trucks close to Beck Avenue. Let's move on to Saturday afternoon following the market. There's plenty of wonderful venues and shops to visit and experience in historic St. Andrews. The first place I think of for music on a Saturday afternoon is Little Village. This Saturday at 1, you're in luck because there's a second set by Scott CHAPMAN in case you missed him on Friday night. Then at 5, if you need more jazz in your life, I suggest visiting the Shrimp Boat and treat your ears to some music by Class Act. Then for the 6 o'clock hour, you could meander back to the Little Village for a late afternoon taco and music by the Chambos at 6 p.m., or you could take a healthy stroll down Beck Avenue to Alice's for a remarkable dining experience with music by George Allen. The ever-talented Jace Smith is making beautiful music at 7, just for you up on the top deck of the new and freshly rebuilt Uncle Ernie's. That is probably the best view of St. Andrews Bay right there. In case you missed them, the Most Wanted Gang is back upstairs at the House of Bourbon starting at 7 p.m., and bringing your evening to a close is Cody Barber back at the Salty Hobo at 9 p.m. Sundays are absolutely gorgeous. I love exploring the streets in the sun while visiting Oaks by the Bay Park, and I almost always find myself taking photos of St. Andrews Bay. Then I make my way back to Beck Avenue and usually find some brunch and live music. According to our guest, Jennifer Vigil, Bergen Barrel has a fantastic brunch, and it happens to feature music by Jumbled Juke. Alice's also has brunch, which I believe begins at 10:30 a.m., and they will have music by SAXY. If you're getting a late start, you can always mosey into Little Village and pick up some tacos at Finn's, which is part of Little Village, and they have the most amazing palapa hut I have ever been in. It's spacious and has the most wonderful view of Lake Ware. And also, my good friend Casey Phelps will be playing music for you starting at 1 p.m. That's your weekend music events. Before we move on, I'd like to thank Ken Schaefer for using social media to provide the public with a frequently updated music schedule that features just about all the music in historic downtown Panama City and also historic St. Andrews. Let's show Ken some love by liking and following Old Boy Music and Salty Sounds in St. Andrews on Facebook. Thank you so much, Ken, for everything you do. How many stand-up comedians do you think we have in Bay County? Yeah, I don't know either, but there's at least 5. Marcus Crespo, Matt Carter, Farzan Maradi, Kai Saunders, and Jason Hedden are the stand-up lineup this Thursday night, March 18th at the House of Bourbon. The comedy show starts at 7:30, and it's a $10 cover every third Thursday. Who ate all the strawberry rhubarb pie at Pie Day at the Publishing Museum last Saturday? I'm not sure where the pie came from, but I do know that Uncle Ernie's donated the key lime pie to this annual fundraiser for the Publishing Museum. In case you missed it, head over to Uncle Ernie's this week for a drink and a dessert. Oh, and how about right after Crawfish Friday at Barefoot on the Bay? One thing I can tell you about St. Andrews, outside dining is where it's at. It's something most of us can probably agree on, and if you want to eat out, try to dine outside. I'm trying to think of a St. Andrews bar or restaurant that doesn't have outside space. A patio, a courtyard, a deck? Ready for the list? Let's start off with Thai Basil, Tap Room when they have a food truck, which is often, Sweet Feed, frozen yogurt, Bergen Barrel, Slice House, Uncle Ernie's, Barefoot by the Bay, Shrimp Boat, and Hunt's even has a couple outside tables plus some lawn games. Finn's is at Little Village, Los Angejitos, Copper Tap Bar and Grill, and Enzo's Italian. Whew, I knew I skipped 2. The library and the Salty Hobo, they both have great outside spaces. The library welcomes snacks and eats from home or other places, and I read it on their post about Tuesday night trivia, and Hobo, gosh, I'm not really sure. Someone let me know, food or no food? I really liked learning the history of how the Salty Hobo got its name. If you missed it, you can catch my interview with Bobby Beard, the owner of the Salty Hobo, House of Henry, Hobo 2, and Library in episode 18 of the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. I'll be sure to link it in the comments below for you. St. Andrews, with the gorgeous weather, is laid out perfectly for outside dining, social distancing, and hanging out with friends while keeping everyone safe. I'm pretty sure the colorful street pole banners featuring art created by over 100 Bay County school students will only be up for the month of March, which is Youth Art Month. So while you're strolling the streets, looking for a great shop or place to have a drink, make sure you look up. We've got some amazingly talented young visual artists growing up and getting ready to take over our creative community. Not only do we have historic St. Andrews walking tours twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, free for you, led by Ellen of the Publishing Museum, but you can also take a bicycle tour with the biker gang. It's not free, and you can call and schedule your own personal tour for you and your friends. Here's a review we picked up off Your Biker Gang Panama City Facebook page. I'll read this to you now. We have had a blast touring Panama City Beach and the St. Andrews area with Captain John Savage, the leader of our biker gang, and Savage's enthusiasm for e-bikes, history, and Panama City is plain to see, and it's rubbed off on all of us. If you've never tried an e-bike, you're in for a treat. Effortless maneuvering around the area with the freedom and quietness of a bike, we highly recommend the tour in Captain John. Thursday night is Pride Night at the Salty Hobo. This event is this Thursday, March 19th at the Salty Hobo, located at 1118 Bayview Avenue. The event is a fundraiser for the LGBTQ Center of Bay County and features fabulous performances by DJ Bam Bam and drag queens Kendall Michaels, Tara Card, and Indica Strain. There are 2 shows. One is at 9 p.m. and the second is at 11 p.m. And the show is for those 21 and up, and there is no cover. Hope to see y'all there. If you've been listening lately, you might know about the resin art class that I've been telling you about at Gypsy Beach. There are a couple spots left in this special workshop. Contact Kathy at Gypsy Beach, and you and a friend can help fill the class. Have any of my subscribers taken the Boozy Bites food tours with Lisa Spoon? They are Thursday nights in St. Andrews. And y'all, I have questions. Like, is booze involved? And is she a foodie? And more importantly, is her last name really Spoon? Because I think that is adorable. Inquiring minds would like to know. So if you know Lisa, or if you are Lisa and you're listening, please DM the podcast, and I'd love to talk more about it in future episodes, and also have you as a guest on the show if you're interested. The butterfly exhibit will be on display at Janie's Fence throughout the end of March. I learned we have Gulf Flitiaries and monarchs in our area, and they're not the same. Gulf Flitiaries are long-wing butterflies, which simply means their wings are longer in shape, and monarchs don't have large silvery spots on its underwings. I think I may have been confusing the two, thinking they are the same butterfly my whole life. But nope, different shape and different color. The caterpillars look dangerous with long black spikes, but they don't sting, and they eat the passion flower vines, which make them poisonous to predators. Gulf Flitiaries are not endangered, and that's why good defenses. The art on Janie's Fence is coordinated by Floriopolis, and the Butterflies exhibit is sponsored by Bubba T. Bird. You can also see Gulf Flitiary butterfly and caterpillar painted on Sunjammer's window. Panama City Quality of Life Department has a request out for your photos of your favorite nature spots. Let's load them up with photos on St. Andrews. You know we have the best in town. Check out the PC Quality of Life Facebook page for submission info. While driving around town, you can see some photos and art the Quality of Life Department selected to install on electrical box wraps. These are at intersections, on the ground, and they are about 3 feet wide and 4 feet tall. Now, instead of gray or silver, they're covered with colorful vinyl art wraps. We have 10 of them in St. Andrews, spread out on Beck and Bayview, and one at Oaks by the Bay Park. Local artist Melinda Adams painted the osprey at the park, and artist Joyful Enriquez painted 2 of the scenes on Bayview. You're listening to the St. Andrew Jezebel podcast. This is Ashley. Today we're here with Jennifer Vigil of Destination Panama City. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here too. And for those who are unfamiliar, what is Destination Panama City and what's your role there?
Sure. Destination Panama City is actually the DBA name of the Panama City Community Development Council, Inc., which says a whole lot, but really it is a 501c6, so that means we're a not-for-profit, and we are tasked with the promotion and marketing of the city of Panama City. We're funded by, everyone calls it the bed tax, but it's the 5% tourist development tax on short-term rentals. So, and me, I am the lucky one that gets to be the president and CEO. So it's super exciting. I'm living my dream.
I bet that's a really fun job. Where can listeners go to find out more information about the events that are happening in St. Andrews and downtown?
I would definitely follow us on Destination Panama City. We share everybody's events on our calendar if they're in the city limits of Panama City. But if you're kind of looking for the greater Panama City area, then you can go to our website, which is destinationpanamacity.com. And we actually have 2 calendars. We have one for Panama City and one for the greater Panama City area. So we do try to include everybody because like you play music all around town. And if you're playing over on the beach, we still want people to know where you're at. So we definitely support all of our local musicians.
Oh, wow. I really appreciate everything y'all do to help promote local art and culture and music in this area. Are there any other exciting events happening that you'd like to share with us?
There are a ton coming up. We have Flux, which is the Florida Lux sidewalk chalk mural art. So years ago, we used to in Panama City have an event called the Marinara, which they did like the 3-dimensional chalk on the ground. And Jason Kretzer, who's the executive director of Bay Arts Alliance, is kind of bringing bringing that back to a new level because he's incorporating having new murals put around Panama City. And I think that after the hurricane, everyone really appreciates the value of having art in public spaces for everyone to enjoy. So the murals are a great asset to the community.
Yes, I definitely love cruising around Panama City and looking at all the different murals, especially the butterfly mural that is on the Center for the Arts in downtown Panama City. And also, many of us know St. Andrews has always been in an ongoing state of recovery in some way, shape, or form. How do you hope to see St. Andrews evolve in the next 5 years?
Right. I remember, I've been here for 25 years. So I remember when St. Andrews was the place that you didn't want to go. And now it's the place everybody wants to go. And I really think that the change of that dynamic is the change of the business owners and the local residents that live in the area. The spirit has always been very dedicated to the idea of what St. Andrews could be. And I think that it's finally coming to fruition that people are seeing that what a great place we live in and how much is possible. So the influx of art and culture and tying in with the old, like salty fisherman village is really something that's niche that everyone is really enjoying.
Yes, absolutely. St. Andrews reminds me so much of a town called Dunedin, Florida, which is near St. Pete. And I really think that everybody who loves St. Andrew should also visit Dunedin. And it's also my understanding that you relocated here from a larger place. Why here? Why did you choose Bay County?
So I didn't even know what Bay County was, to be honest with you. I was in college and I happened to be in Orlando, and some of my friends were like, "Hey, Jen, we got a postcard that said Club La Vila, biggest nightclub in America." And I was like, let's go. And so MTV was during the great big heyday of MTV. Not very many people know this story, but so I came and I tried out for a dance show and I made it on the dance show. And I remember standing on the bay thinking, this feels like home and I'm going to find a way to come back here. And it's a very ironic story, but here I met my ex-husband, and a few months later we were in New York and we ran into each other in New York, and then we started dating and we got married, and he got reassigned here back at Tyndall. And when we got back here, we had both of our beautiful daughters at Tyndall. Then we got divorced here and we just both decided to stay. Like, we both really liked it here. And I can't imagine my girls growing up anyplace else. So I came here first to be on a dance show, and then, met the future dad of my beautiful daughters, and then stayed here because I love it. So it's really funny. We have one politician in town, and he kind of knows that story. And whenever somebody says nothing good ever came out of spring break, he looks at me and smiles, because that's how I got here.
That is absolutely wonderful. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. I relate to that because I was also born at Tyndall and grew up here. My parents married and divorced here. I grew up here, and it's a wonderful place to raise a family and have children. And we have a whole lot more going on than folks are aware. So for your friends back home or any other places you may have resided in the past, what would you tell them about St. Andrews? What places would you recommend them to visit and things to do and see?
Oh, so probably my favorite spot in St. Andrews that I think everybody should go to, because I get a feeling while I'm there, is the Old Century Tree. It's at Oaks by the Bay Park. For me and my friends, we usually start at the park and then hit Tap Room, walk through the alleyway, and go to Little Village, stop at Hunt's. We walk up to Los Antojitos. We come back. We actually do a big loop. So usually we end up on the upper deck at Uncle Ernie's listening to Jace Smith or some of the other great musicians. And then late night, I love sitting outside at the Salty Hobo. It's right next to the water and the boats. And it's just a feeling in St. Andrews that I like being here.
Absolutely. It's more than a feeling to me. And Uncle Ernie's is just gorgeous now. My sister is a bartender there. She's going back to Dallas, but every time I see her, I'm like, you're so lucky to have the most beautiful workspace. Are there any particular things that you particularly love to eat or drink when you're in St. Andrews?
Oh, yes. Okay, so my absolute favorite drink is the Sweetwater Blue, which it used to be called, before the hurricane, it used to be called Miss Jessie's Light Blue Brew at Uncle Ernie's. It's like a blueberry infused beer. And then I love the black bean crab dip there. I also love any food that comes off of Liza's Munchie Machine, the food truck that goes to the tap room. And Bergen Barrel has the best brunch. And I love the margaritas at Los Antojitos.
Yes, I love the Harborita. That is my absolute favorite. So unless I'm mistaken, Destination Panama City is in the process of building a new visitor center, correct?
Yes. It's going up a little bit every day. So we started in late October. Had a couple delays because of the real bad rain and cold weather that we had. We should be in there sometime in June. This is going to be a premier building in the city of Panama City. And it's like multi-purpose. We learned a lot when we had the hurricane. You know, we used to be at the old bank building where even Quinn's is. And when we got hit by the hurricane, what we realized is even though tourism is the number one economic driver in Florida, it is not recognized on a federal level. So when we were wiped out, I mean, it basically peeled the roof off the old bank building and destroyed all the beautiful wood that was inside. And we got no FEMA assistance at all. We were just on our own because tourism didn't matter in a hurricane. And what we did realize, though, is that for not-for-profits and nonprofits, they have different categories of assistance if your business can fall into those categories. And one of them was called community center. And the definition of community center was a place that gives referrals or recommendations for the community. And I'm like, well, that's what we are. That's who we are. And except we didn't qualify because a community center on the federal government standards has to have a room available to the public by rent or reservation. And the old bank building, we were a very small footprint. It was, less than 1,600 square feet. And we're a very small organization anyway. And so we got no help. And I thought, how crazy is that this is exactly what we do, but because we're lacking that one room, we won't get any assistance at all. So looking forward for the future as president and CEO, I had to make sure that whatever visitor center we had would be protected. We live in a hurricane-prone area. We're locals. We know how to prepare. So being prepared for the future, I had to make sure that the new building had a room available for rent or reservation to the public. So we would qualify under that caveat of community center. And so I looked all around the city and I was like, where can I put this building? And I noticed that the old Elks Club property downtown at 101 West Beach Drive was in a flood zone and it was owned by the city and the building had been torn down. But history on that, before it was the Elks Club, it was the very first Chamber of Commerce building, and that's what it was built for. And it was built because the Chamber of Commerce recognized that tourists and visitors wanted to come to Panama City and make this either their second home or their permanent residency, because that's how we get people. We introduce them to the community and then they come back. And I was like, okay, the history of this parcel needs to come full circle. So I went to the city and I said, hey, look, I noticed that you have this land that's a flood zone. And for me, I was simultaneously working with the U.S. Sailing Organization to try to bring more regattas to the bay. And in order to qualify, you have to have a second floor observation deck for the judges to be able to see some of the racers while they're out there. And so I went to the city and I said, hey, listen, I want to build a 2-story building and you have a flood zone. So can we be friends and can we make this work? So the city actually gave us a 20-year lease so that we could build this 2-story building. So the bottom floor is all open air. It's covered. There'll be picnic tables, public restrooms, things like that. The top floor has a community meeting space available by rent or reservation, a nice big deck for the locals and the visitors to enjoy the sunset over St. Andrews Bay. And the front part has the visitor center where we'll continue to give recommendations and referrals for everything in Panama City.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I cannot wait to see that come to fruition. And to me, that just sounds like the universe speaking, like this needs to be in this spot based on the previous history. One of the things that I love so much about this area, but it is lacking, is lack of hotels and public restrooms in both St. Andrews and downtown. Do you believe there will be either of those in the near future?
Absolutely. So St. Joe, where we're building the visitor center at 101 West Beach Drive, St. Joe Foundation has also started building a hotel immediately adjacent. They've gone through the paperwork process side, I should say. They haven't actually broken ground yet, but they should be breaking ground anytime in the next 60 days. And in 18 months, we should have a brand new waterfront hotel, which is really important to the city of Panama City, because when we lost the Copa here in St. Andrews and when we lost the Buccaneer in downtown, that was all of our waterfront lodging. And we were the largest city, coastal city in the state of Florida that had zero waterfront lodging. So that was amazing to me that as a community, we didn't try harder to get waterfront lodging so that visitors and guests and even when our family members come to visit, they want to stay on the water. Saltwater cures everything.
It most certainly does. I've really have reaffirmed that since I've moved to Panama City Beach. I absolutely love it there. Can you tell me about the temporary visitors center? Is there public restrooms? And also, you've got the Sunset Serenade series going on. I had the pleasure of playing there a few weeks ago. I enjoyed that. Who's playing the next one?
So I'm actually not sure. It's very weather dependent. So we only try to schedule them about 15 days out. Recently, we just had Janelle Frost out there. We have the time change coming. I think the time change, is it today?
Is it?
No, wait, I think it might be the 14th. I think it's this coming Sunday. Anyway, the time change is coming, and that throws off our sunsets because, when the sunset was right around 5 o'clock, I just made the staff stay a little bit later. So I think we're still going to call it the Sunset Series, but I think we're going to stick from like the 4:45 to 5:45 hour so people can just swing by after work, get a little music in their life, and then head home. But with the time change, it's not going to be quite sunset. So people might have to just hang out by themselves a little bit. I think the next one is supposed to be Friday. I can't remember who's playing, but I think the next one is Friday. It looks like great weather today, tomorrow, and Friday. So everybody needs to get outside anyway.
Absolutely. And I just love following your social media posts about your dreams and going camping by yourself. I just lit up when I read about that. But most recently, I lit up about your bicycle. What's up with your bicycle?
Oh, so I love my bike. Where I live has a multi-use path, and I chose my house because of its proximity to, honestly, places with live music and the fact that I had a multi-use path. And FYI, we are trying to get a multi-use path that will connect downtown to St. Andrews so that we truly have an active waterfront over here in Panama City. But for my bike, I ride to a couple of places on the east end of the beach, and I wanted it lit up so that everyone would know it was me. And a very good friend of mine, Gail Sasser, shout out, she got me a very fancy wicker basket for my bicycle so I can now carry my speaker when I play music. I am such a nerd. I have a Bluetooth speaker that rides in the basket of my bicycle, and then I just ride myself around to the different places so I can hear other live music. I put all these lights on my bike, so I'm like a carnival ride going down North Lagoon some days.
Oh my gosh, that makes me wish I lived on the other end so I could catch that in action. Before we go, I really appreciate you being here and spending some time with us this morning. What are the hours for the temporary visitor center? So
temporary visitor center, we're actually open from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. We'll get back. When we were in St. Andrews, we used to be open 6 days a week. It's just not conducive when I only have one staff member right now. Before the hurricane, I had 3 full-time staff members, so we could kind of work it out to the 6 days a week. To be an official Visit Florida Welcome Center, you have to be open a minimum of 5 days a week, and one of them has to be a Saturday or a Sunday. So we may be adjusting hours in the future to make sure that we can accommodate those citizens that want to enjoy the room available by rent or reservation in the new visitor center. We actually already had someone come and book a wedding there.
Wow.
So we're definitely going to have to be flexible with the hours to make sure that we're available when people want to be there. Not too many tourists are out at 9 a.m., but a lot of them are out at like 2 and 3 in the afternoon. So we're going to have to be flexible to the needs. But right now in the trailer, come and see us from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
That's great. And for those who are listening and may have questions about updates with Destination Panama City or about any general questions at all, what's the best way to contact you and how can they find you on social media or otherwise?
So I tell everybody the very best way is to either Facebook message me, because I always respond, or text message me. My work cell phone is 850-832-5262. It's public. It's out there on the website. Everybody knows it. A lot of people call, and that's the hardest thing for me because sometimes I'm doing things like this. Sometimes I'm in a government meeting and I can't answer right then, so I don't know what people want. But if you text me, I usually get back immediately. So that's the best way. Destination Panama City, you can message our website and you can message our social media anytime. And we usually have about a 1 hour window of turnaround time on those. So we're always around.
All right. That's fabulous. Well, thank you again, Jennifer, for being here today on the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed this interview segment and you'll tune in next week for more. Until then, keep St. Andrews salty.
Thanks so much.
For this week's old news segment, I'd like to read a short poem called Sunset. This was written by Lois Carlos and was featured in the St. Andrews Bay News March 20th in 1934, and you can find this on FloridaHiddenTreasures.com in the newspaper archives. Sunset. All of us love the sunset. None of us can explain just why. Maybe it's because of the beautiful colors that gather and mingle in the sky. It might be because of the one who creates it, how calm, majestic, and beautiful it seems. The same God who made us makes it a series of beautiful themes. Some people see it from the mountaintops, in all its splendor and glory, the same as it has been and always will be, until fate shall end the story. Lois Carlos. Thank you so much for listening to episode 20 of the St. Andrews Jezebel podcast. We now have a Facebook page and an Instagram account. The pages will share when future episodes will be published and more information regarding the growth of the podcast. I hope you'll visit these pages and you can show your support by liking, following, and sharing the pages with all your salty friends. Before I say goodbye, I need to mention that I'm hoping to share all kinds of public events. If you're having a yard sale or you'd like me to help you promote a special happening, please DM the podcast on Facebook or you can email me at ashley.feller@gmail.com. The podcast is now available to stream on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, CastBox, and Google Podcasts. I'd like to thank everyone who has subscribed and shared this podcast with all their salty friends. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Thank you everyone again for supporting this effort. The intro music was written by me and recorded by Dave Schwartz at Boundless Sounds on the campus of Gulf Coast State College. The show was recorded by me in my music room. Till next time, keep St. Andrews salty.
'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew Jezebel. 'Cause she's a Jezebel, St. Andrew